Hello, and welcome to the first ever weekly recap here on Liho Sports. We will be going through each of the games through the week, and we'll be giving a brief little chat about each of the games. So let's start off with the Thursday night game, Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. This game was interesting to say the least. I think the biggest headline to come out of it was, of course, Russell Wilson's injury. He is now going to be hurt from anywhere to 4 weeks to 8 weeks with a broken middle finger. He had surgery on it, and it sounds like it went well. Geno Smith will now be the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. Hopefully that goes well for them. We don't really know. For the Los Angeles Rams, they started off the game slow, but then started to pick up steam. Of course, they ended up winning and are the front runners in a very competitive NFC West. Even though the Cardinals are in first place, I do think the Rams can edge them out. Matthew Stafford played pretty good as he always does, and Robert Woods really got involved in this game. Next, we'll move on to the New York Jets versus the Atlanta Falcons. This was a London game. Not too many people really cared about this game because, one, you had to wake up super early for it, and two, it's the Falcons and the Jets. It always seems like we send some of the worst teams to London so that they can enjoy American football the proper way. I think the biggest thing to come out of this was a breakout game for Kyle Pitts. I know it's against the Jets, but still, I believe he had 8 receptions for 119 yards and his first NFL touchdown. Funny quote that came out of it, he didn't think he actually caught his touchdown. It was kind of like it was a jump ball, sort of, even though he had a lot of height on the defender, and he just was worried he wasn't going to catch the ball. Now, moving on to what was on paper one of the best early matchup games, the Green Bay Packers at the Cincinnati Bengals, both 3-1 coming into this game, and it ended up being a very close, tight contest, mainly because there was a lot of missed field goals and extra points. Both, I believe, McPherson is the kicker for the Bengals and Mason Crosby is the kicker for the Packers. They both missed, I believe, 5 field goals in the last 2 minutes, from the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter to the end of overtime. They missed 5 kicks. Of course, in overtime, Joe Burrow threw a terrible pick. I think that was the worst pick I've seen since probably something Daniel Jones has thrown. He threw it to, I don't remember who, I think it was a Packers linebacker. I don't even know who he was throwing to. He just threw it to the Packers linebacker. But it didn't matter because Mason Crosby missed the kick. Then they drive down. McPherson kicks it. He thinks it's going straight through the uprights. It hits the flag, like the flag on the top of the pole. It's missed, and like he's celebrating thinking he won the game. When Packers get the ball back, drive down, Crosby hits the game-winning field goal. Green Bay wins 25-22. Next game, Minnesota Vikings Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. My apologies. This game, it seemed like the Vikings were in command for all 3 minutes and 3 quarters and 8 minutes. Then Detroit suddenly marches down the field. They've kept it close this entire game. March down the field, score. It's 15-16. It was a touchdown by, I think, DeAndre Swift. He ran it in with like 30 seconds left. Dan Campbell, being the gutsy new head coach that he is, calls for a 2-point conversion. Jared Goff gets it to the back of the end zone, I think to Tyrell Williams. Could be wrong. And it looks like the Lions have their first win of the season. I believe the Lions have not won a game yet. That is correct. The Lions look like they're going to win the first game of the season. But in true Lions fashion, the Vikings and Kirk Cousins drive down the field with Adam Thielen finally getting involved. It took till the last 30 seconds of the game for him to actually get a catch. He goes down the field, gets them ready for a 50-something yard field goal. But it's the Vikings, right? They can't make game-winning field goals. Well, they're playing the Lions, so yes, they can. The Vikings finally make a last-second field goal. They don't shank it like they normally do. and they end up beating the Detroit Lions in heartbreaking fashion, 19-17. And I believe in the post-game press conference, Dan Campbell was seen crying tears because they had lost. It's been 5 weeks, and the Lions are already ruining their new head coach. Next, the Denver Broncos at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I didn't watch much of this game because I thought Pittsburgh was basically dominating. Then it got really close. Denver was down by... Sorry, let me check. They were down by 8 right at the goal line, and Pittsburgh's defense comes up clutch. It also could be because Pat Shurmur, even though in my last video I was talking about how Pat Shurmur's a great offensive coordinator and he calls great game plans. Well, he did not call that good of a game plan in the goal line situation in the Pittsburgh game, and they end up losing 27-19. Najee Harris and Chase Claypool both had really good yards games. I believe Deontay Johnson had a long touchdown to start the game off for the Steelers, and Juju Smith-Schuster is out for the year with a shoulder injury. I should mention that. Moving on to the absolute throttling that was Tampa Bay and Miami. Miami, of course, visiting Tampa Bay. It was close for about a half before Jacoby Brissett, who was playing through injury, just crapped the bed, and then Tampa Bay just piles on points as they normally do. Antonio Brown made Xavier Howard look silly the entire entire afternoon, and Tampa Bay ends up winning 45-17. Not much else to say besides just complete domination from Tampa Bay. Miami did keep it close, as I said, for the first half, but no one really expected them to do much of anything. Even Miami fans, no offense. They have started off slow, I will admit. Next, we're moving to New Orleans at Washington, the Washington football team, led by Taylor Heinicke. New Orleans also looked dominant throughout most of this game. New Orleans never seems to get yards anymore. I don't know if it's like they used to always get all the yards because of Drew Brees, and now they just never get yards, it seems like, every game. They end up winning in fine fashion. Alvin Kamara, he had 71 rushing yards. He also, let me just look at his stat line real quick. He had 16 attempts for 71 yards and 1 touchdown. And receiving, he had 5 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. So overall, a really good day from Alvin Kamara. Of course, he's one of the top 5 to 3 to 5 running backs in the league, depending on who you ask. I think he's amazing. And yeah, New Orleans played a good game. Washington is kind of just, their defense is not what everyone thought it would be, and that can be said a lot for what was expected to be one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league. Moving on to another NFC East team, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at the Carolina Panthers. This was a very sloppy game. I thought Sam Darnold, as someone pointed out on Twitter, was seeing ghosts again. He looked like Jet Sam Darnold and did not look like what we've seen from the first 4 weeks of Carolina Sam Darnold. Except the Cowboys game was a bit iffy, but he still looked good for at least a half. I think that he just needs to gain his confidence back, and Sam Darnold will be back on that track. I've also realized I've said Sam Darnold's name a lot in the past 6 sentences, so I apologize for that. Philadelphia, they looked good. They mounted a comeback. I believe Carolina had an 18-point lead, but they were up in the fourth quarter, and Philadelphia came back and won 21-18. Carolina's defense, it's not their fault. Carolina's defense played good and has been playing good. Carolina's offense disappeared. Philadelphia's defense has been pretty good, to be fair, except against the Chiefs, but that's a completely different story. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans at Jacksonville Jaguars. James Robinson got heavily involved again, thankfully. I'm a James Robinson fantasy owner, so I much appreciate that. Trevor Lawrence, even though had more yards than Ryan Tannehill, only reason being is because I don't know what's up with the Titans offense. They seem sluggish. They seem like they don't want to pass the ball. I believe Derrick Henry is on track to have 500 touches this season. You heard that correctly. 500 touches. If Derrick Henry gets 500 touches, he will probably not have knees after this season. But Tennessee pulls out the win, honestly, on the back of Derrick Henry and the Jaguars' mistakes because they're just not a good run franchise. Titans win comfortably 37-19. I believe it was shaky at one point, but final score kind of just says what the Jaguars are. Not even the biggest head coach controversy even anymore, Urban Myers. It took all of a week for you to disappear from the headlines. You're welcome. We'll get to that later. New England at Houston. This was a rough game for New England. I don't know what happened to Mac Jones. I think he had his rookie game, even though I think the Saints game was another rookie game. New England just has to do better. I don't know what's up with Belichick and Josh McDaniels and all the coordinators there. They cannot let Davis Mills have 312 yards. It's just, and Chris Moore. Who has heard of Davis Mills and Chris Moore before this past weekend? Not many people. Only reason I know who Davis Mills is because it's the first person that the Houston Texans drafted this year. Because Bill O'Brien somehow ran that franchise worse than it's being run right now. New England somehow comes out with a victory, but if I'm a New England fan, I'm not too happy about the performance. Next, Chicago at Las Vegas. The Khalil Mack Bowl, of course, Khalil Mack being traded from the Oakland Raiders at the time to the Chicago Bears. Chicago, I don't know. I didn't actually watch much of this game because I was too busy looking at the Giants getting decimated. So I don't have a lot to say about it, but I think the biggest headline is John Gruden and the emails resurfacing after 10 years. It's not a good look. He resigned, obviously, fired, whatever you want to put it. He's no longer the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think it's the right choice because, well, obviously, it's he said some pretty horrible things, and I'm not going to repeat what he said. I'd never want to repeat what he said or what was said in the emails. Just know, not the best of things to be said from a human being. John Gruden, no longer the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. I believe their assistant coach is now the interim head coach. Chicago won anyway, 20-9. I don't really know what happened, but Hunter Renfrow was the receiving leader, and I like that. Next, Cleveland at Los Angeles. Great game. This was another game I was watching instead of Chicago, Las Vegas. I watched Red Zone, so they showed a lot of this because really high-scoring game. Justin Herbert is elite. Nick Chubb is elite. Mike Williams is elite. I don't really know what else to say besides Justin Herbert is a top 10 quarterback in this league. No one, if you want to deny that, go ahead and deny it. Just know I was right before the draft. I thought Justin Herbert was actually better than Joe Burrow. I'm not going to say he is right now, but he is. Nick Chubb, the Cleveland Browns running game is ridiculous. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb are absolute monsters. I believe they're probably going to accumulate 3,000 rushing. They might get 2,000 rushing yards equally. I don't think so. But they're easily going to get 3,000 rushing yards as a team off of the back of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Mike Williams, this is his breakout season. In the contract year, this is exactly what he needed. He is that deep threat we saw at Clemson. He is exactly who the Chargers drafted at, I believe, 5 or 6 overall in 2017 or 18, whenever it was. I think it was the same draft as Jared Goff. Could be wrong. It's either Jared Goff or Myles Garrett. One of the two. Whichever draft, he's finally hitting that peak that we thought he would be at, and he's being that deep threat with amazing hands that the Chargers really need in that very high-powered offense. By the way, Brandon Staley, amazing head coach. Moving on to my New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't think Dallas was going to score 40. So a lot of people thought Dallas was going to blow out the Giants, which of course they did. No one expected it to be why. they blew it out to be the injuries because Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, Rodarius Williams, and Kenny Galladay all got hurt in this game and either left or are out. Daniel Jones had a concussion when he was trying to get a bootleg run in, and he got like Jabril Cox, who's like the 4th or 5th round guy from LSU. He like had him in a chokehold and kind of like pulled him down. It was kind of similar to that Mahomes injury in the playoffs. You could see Daniel Jones was shaky to get up and was even wobbly when he got up. Saquon Barkley rolled his ankle. It looked terrible. I thought he actually broke his ankle. That was a rough time for me. It happened in the weirdest way. It's like the play was already over. It was a slant route from Barkley. Jones threw it into the ground, and one of the Cowboys' corner comes up and he rolls over Barkley's ankle, and you could just see Barkley in pain, and yeah, it was bad. Then Kenny Galladay, I don't actually know when he got hurt. I just know after halftime they said it was a knee injury. I think it was a knee sprain. I believe he's doubtful for this week. I think he might be out for the next few weeks. Also, with Barkley's injury, he should be out for a few weeks as well. Kadarius Toney, I think it was like a foot injury or something like that. Happened in like the 3rd or 4th quarter. He like was trying to do a move and like his foot like jerked or something weird. And so he's questionable for this week, but he had an amazing game, 189 yards. He also got ejected from the game for punching someone. That's not good. What else isn't good? Joe Judge was really hot after that. He was yelling at Toney on the sideline and screaming in his face. Well, I guess it's all right considering Toney just tried to punch a guy with his helmet on. And rookie issues, but Giants got killed 44-20. Dak looks good. Zeke looks awesome. CeeDee Lamb burnt James Bradbury. Giants defense sucks. If you guys want to see if me just rant about the Giants every week, leave a like, maybe comment below what you guys else would like to see from this channel. Moving on, San Francisco 49ers at the Arizona Cardinals. I actually almost went to this game. Arizona, last undefeated team. They stay undefeated. Kyler Murray looked a bit off at times, but he found a way to get it done, finding DeAndre Hopkins in the end zone for a touchdown. I actually don't know how the Cardinals got their other touchdown their last game. There was one passing touchdown, and if I can find out what happened that game. I'm sorry, this is just kind of off the cusp sort of thing. James Conner had a 1-yard run. Deebo Samuel had a 13-yard run. That was the Niners' only touchdown of the game, and this was another game I didn't really watch much of because of the Cleveland game and the Giants game. Those were the two main games being shown, and this one and the Vegas one wasn't being shown much in the late windows. I think Arizona actually played pretty sloppy from what I've heard and from what I did see, but they managed to eke out a win, and no harm, no foul. They move on to play the Browns, which should be a really good game. Next is Buffalo at Kansas City. This was the Sunday night game, and Josh Allen looked good. That Chiefs defense looks bad. Josh Allen is, of course, my fantasy quarterback this year. I banked on him in pretty much every league except for one because Ben, the guy I do the podcast with, you guys know who Ben is. You guys watch the channel. For those of you who don't, we do a podcast, the Leho Sports Podcast, me and Ben. It should be coming back soon, but he has Josh Allen in one league. I have Josh Allen in the rest of my leagues. I think he did amazing. Patrick Mahomes can only do so much. He is trying to play hero ball a lot. He's a gunslinger. He is Brett Favre, but on a different level. You're going to get picks, but he makes incredible plays. KC is in trouble, though. They really need to fix that defense. I don't think it's Spagnuolo's fault. I think it's personnel. I just think the cap issues on the offense is hindering their defensive production. Also, they don't have a pass rush, which is really sad considering how much money is being put into Chris Jones and Frank Clark, who is their defensive end. Also, Frank Clark had some legal issues. I don't know what happened with that. Moving on to Monday night's game, Indianapolis Colts at the Baltimore Ravens. I think Indianapolis is the best one-win team in the league. They've played the Ravens and the Titans very close. Even the Rams, they played pretty close. Seahawks, they played close for a little bit, but then it was kind of out of pocket after Tyler Lockett went off. Pocket for Lockett. That's a good rhyme. Well, Indy played really well. Carson Wentz looked really good, but Lamar Jackson decided to turn it on in the fourth quarter, be an absolute legend, be the rushing leader and the passing leader. And Mark Andrews, I believe, had like 12 catches for 147 yards and a touchdown, I believe. Let me just double check. 11 receptions on 13 targets for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns in an overtime win for the Ravens over the Indianapolis Colts. Lamar Jackson is amazing. He is the best dual threat quarterback we have ever seen in the league. I will say that without a shadow of a doubt. Lamar Jackson is the best dual threat quarterback we have ever seen play in the league. Better than Cam, better than Michael Vick, better than Fran Tarkenton, better than Steve Young. Yeah, Lamar Jackson's legit, especially as a passer, because he looks to pass before he runs. But when he runs, he's elusive and he is elite. Thank you guys for watching. Please, I would hope you would subscribe, leave a comment, like, and enjoy your football weekend. See ya.